Madam President, fellow Toastmasters. Je suis Charlie. Panty Bliss, David Quinn, and The Saturday Night Show. Oliver Callan and President Michael D. Higgins. And Anything by Kevin Myers. 4 apparently unrelated statements, but they all have one thing in common. Free speech, but. The entire world was shocked by the recent murders of cartoonists in France. They were murdered because they depicted Mohammed, which is forbidden by Islam. After the murders, the magazine published another picture of Mohammed. Thousands of people, including world leaders and Hollywood royalty, marched on various streets around the world carrying a sign that said, Je suis Charlie. Some months ago, on the Saturday Night Show on RTE, Rory O'Neill, aka Panty Bliss, accused a number of journalists, including David Quinn, of homophobia because of their stance on gay marriage. Those journalists have always said that their stance on gay marriage is based on their support for the traditional position of marriage within society and is not concerned with any judgment on the morality of homosexuality. 470,000 people watched the Saturday Night Show. 100 people complained to the Broadcasting Standards Authority. The majority of those complaints were about the apology that RTE had given to the journalists after the show had been broadcast, and not about the actual content of the show itself. More recently, Oliver Callan came under fire from the Abbot of Glenstall for his lampooning of President Michael D. Higgins' height in the sketches that he runs. And he accused Oliver Callan of toxic bullying and harassment. Oliver Callan defended his sketches and said that he doubted very much if President Higgins was insecure about his height. So, there is one thing central to all of those very different events that I have outlined, and that is the issue of free speech. In one case, it was met with a threat of death. In another, it was met with a threat of legal action. And the third was met with an accusation of bullying and harassment. Charlie Hebdo is a satirical magazine, and as such publishes cartoons and articles that are likely to offend or maybe even hurt people, and indeed insult them. But words do not kill. The reaction to that magazine cannot, under any circumstances, be justified. Killing is not a response to offence. However, because Charlie Hebdo published another cartoon of Mohammed after the murders, you would have to ask, were they being reckless? Was this a rallying cry for freedom of speech? Or was it a deliberate insult to the Muslim faith? In the case of Panty Bliss, the alleged homophobes, as previously stated, have insistently repeated that their objection to the legalization of gay marriage is based around the basis of the traditional marriage model within society and not against, and is not any judgment on the morality of homosexuality. Were they right in taking legal action? Or in hindsight, should they have considered rising above it all and ignoring it, given the abuse that was hurled at them both in the print media and online, where, among other things, they were accused of stifling free speech? However, the word homophobe is also often used to shut down debate. So the question here is, were both sides in this debate guilty of stifling free speech? In the case of Oliver Callan and the comments of the abbot, who said it was toxic bullying and harassment to lampoon somebody because of something they can't help, whether it be their height, skin colour, race, sexuality. It doesn't matter. It's something that you cannot help, and therefore you should be free of ridicule and lampooning. Again, as I said, Oliver Callan defended the sketches very strongly, and indeed when we look at President Higgins, his height certainly hasn't stopped him from fulfilling 40 years in the rough and tumble of political life, and indeed rising to the top of it. So maybe he is able for it. However, despite the defence, Oliver Callan says he is rethinking the sketches. Is it out of consideration for other people, or is he bowing to a very strong opinion? Voltaire famously said, "I may not agree with what you say, but I will defend to the death your right to say it." That statement is often used as the epitome of free speech. It is a cornerstone of a democratic society. But I wonder how many of those thousands of people who marched carrying banners saying "Je suis Charlie" would be willing to lay down their lives for Charlie Hebdo. Is it ludicrous to consider that possibly in the future, episodes like the Oliver Callan one or the Panty Bliss one may incur death threats from other quarters? And what of the bold Kevin Myers? His critics would tell you that he basically is racist, he is sexist, he's a misogynist. Anything you can throw at him, anything you can think of, he's guilty of it. On the other hand, those who defend him would tell you that he is simply stating what most people, or what a lot of people, are afraid to actually say out loud. So Kevin Myers, agent provocateur, or defender of free speech?